And I would like to see more coordination between the federal government and all 10 provinces and all 3 territories, for that matter, on that particular question. Because I think it's a huge question that needs to be resolved. But here we are again. We're in the middle of an election campaign, and we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. It's not on anybody's agenda. Although, in fairness, I haven't read the whole Conservative Party platform, because I think it's over. I think it was it you that was mentioning that it's 100 and some odd pages, and so
160 pages.
Yeah, so that's a lot of reading to do for an election manifesto. But Joe, public guy walking down the street is not going to read 5 pages of that, never mind 160. So it's almost like being the NDP. You can say whatever you want and bury it in the back pages. It doesn't matter, because nobody's ever going to read it. Certainly not in enough numbers to make any difference. And I don't know, maybe they're counting on that. But for the love of God, really? I mean, it's so easy to be different than the Liberals. Just be competent, for one thing. Make sure that you have competent people in positions of authority that can step in and become ministers or become, people of influence within the government who actually know what they're talking about. Not these 24-year-old poli-sci students who just graduated with a degree and are now whispering into the higher ups' ears because, oh boy, these are the bright upcoming people we have to attract to the party. Well, let them earn their time in rank like we did when we were in the service. Let them prove that they're actually got their head screwed on straight, instead of just picking them up like hockey pucks off the ice. It's just, this kind of way of leading is not leading at all. The only thing it does is lead you in circles, and you get nowhere, and we're going to lose again. Well, I'm not losing.
Well, okay, let me ask you this, Joseph. Given everything right now, as it is, with
yes.
The leadership the way it is and the party platforms, can you blame somebody for saying, I don't know who to vote for, so I'm just going to spoil my ballot?
Well, that is a fair question to ask. And I guess I don't blame anyone. I mean, I'm sympathetic. But I think that in the end, you have to look at the candidates in your own riding, I think predominantly, and you have to ask yourself which of these candidates represents my values closer, or is more closely represents my values, or most closely represents my values. And then you have to vote for them. I don't think you can ever find the perfect candidate. I understand the frustration, but I do think that when you spoil your ballot because you don't think that any of them is good enough. First of all, Nick, my experience with people who do that is that they're looking at the parties and the national leadership. And quite often, you lose the representation of really good young politicians who are just starting out, who potentially could evolve into and grow into something that you would be very much in agreement with and very proud to support. But you never give them a chance because you basically throw your hands up in frustration and go, well, I don't like Justin Trudeau or I don't like Aaron O'Toole. So, I'm not going to vote for I'm not even going to look at my local candidates.
Well,
so I would remind people that ultimately you're voting for your local candidate, not for the national leader, and that before you take what I consider to be the extreme step of spoiling your ballot, I would say you owe it to yourself and to your community and country to take a close look at your local candidates and ask yourself, is there somebody here, irrespective of political party, that I can support because they represent my values? And ultimately, in my view, I think you have to vote for somebody, so you vote for the person who most closely represents your values. otherwise you're basically voting for. You see, here's the thing: whether you spoil your ballot or not, you're still voting. Even if you don't show up to vote, you're still voting. And somebody far wiser than me summed it up beautifully. They pointed out that bad politicians are the politicians that are elected by good citizens who don't vote.
Well, okay, I hear all of that, and I'm just playing the other side of the coin here.
Of course.
The trouble with what I hear you saying is that, yes, of course, like I would vote for my member of parliament again because I like her. I think she's a good MP as far as her constituency is concerned. She's got some experience and time in rank now, and I don't have any real issues with her. But the problem is that as much as you don't vote for the leadership, in effect you do, because if you elect enough people based on the individual candidate in the riding, they still have to answer to the boss. And if the boss doesn't like something they're bringing forward from their constituency, he doesn't have to listen to it. So in essence, what happens is, okay, so you don't spoil your ballot, you reelect your MP, but you have the same problem. You have incompetent leadership. It doesn't, you know how many armies in history have gone down to defeat? Not because the soldiers weren't any good, but because the generals running them were complete boobs. They were, absolute idiots, or I'm being a little harsh, but just incompetent. And that's what we have.
I hear you, and I think it's a good argument. I'm not dismissing the argument you're making, Nick. I'm just telling you that, you're never going to find a perfect party and never going to find a perfect leader, and you're never going to find a perfect candidate. So, in your search for perfection, you could end up ending, before it gets out the gates, the career of somebody who ultimately could end up being the kind of politician that you want them to be.
I'm not calling for perfection. None of us is perfect. You're quite right that I don't want to nip somebody's career in the bud, because we all make mistakes. We all have to grow into the position. But O'Toole is not a newbie. He's been around. He spent time in the service. He should know better than apparently he does. And I'm sorry, when you vie for leadership, you have to demonstrate certain leadership qualities.
I don't
and
disagree.
That is one of the things they taught us in the service was local expertise. When you're out in the field and you need to know something about the terrain ahead, you find a local and you talk to them and find out what's going on beyond the scope of your horizon. How is that not the same thing for these guys? Why are they getting rid of, let's say, the guy in the Yukon just got dumped by O'Toole because of his view on vaccines? Thank you, Jay Ron, for pointing that out. Why'd he dump him? Because he has a different opinion than the boss does? That's no reason to dump him. That's the kind of guy you want to keep, because he'll talk to the boss and tell him what he thinks. Now, the boss doesn't have to listen, but to throw him out is just plain stupid.
I don't disagree with you, Nick. But again, we're talking about whether or not the right response to that is to decide not to vote or to go in and spoil your ballot. And I'm saying that response in and of itself creates difficulties as well. And look, ultimately, you want to elect solid local representatives who, when the opportunity presents itself, will stand up and do the right thing. Now, the pressure is going to be against them, but, this is a whole area that, maybe we should, I'm just looking at the time, that we should, maybe spend a few minutes talking about, because it wasn't something we planned on talking about, but I do think it's apropos to our subject tonight of the election. So let's put this off until we come back from the break, Nick, because there are a few things that I think we need to just talk about to clarify the whole scenario.
All right, that's fine with me.
Okay, so we're just coming up to the top of the hour, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to go for our break, and when we come back, well, we'll just pick up this conversation where we left it off. So you're listening to the Nick and Joe Show on the Think Radio Broadcast Network. Okay, folks, thanks for sticking around. It's the Nick and Joe Show. I'm Nick. He's Joe. He's located in the nation's capital there in Ottawa, and I'm in our flagship terrestrial station here at CHCR Radio, 102.9 and 104.5. It's been quite a spicy first hour, Joseph.
Yes, it has been, and I've been sucking back on the water during the break. Just because, I don't handle spicy food so well.
Something that's one of the. It's completely off the topic, and it's just. But there's a mystery in life, and maybe you can help me with it. Why is it the hottest food comes to the countries closest to the equator?
I don't know.
I can't figure it out. Like, you would think the Inuit of the far north would want spicy food.
You would think.
And yet, people like down in Mexico and Guatemala and in Central Africa, down near the equator, Thailand, all these places, the food will take the roof of your mouth out. I just don't understand it. Is it not hot enough down there? You want to burn from the inside too? I don't get it. Anyway.
I wish I had an answer to that, Nick, but I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, neither do I, and it's one of those things I'll probably go to my grave not knowing.
All right. Well, some housekeeping items, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to join the conversation live, you're welcome to do so. If you're listening to us on the internet and you're on the nickandjoeshow.com page, then you can click on the chat bubble in the player, log in if you have to log in, register if you have to register. That's to ensure you're a real flesh and blood human being. So that's the first thing. You could call us toll free anywhere in North America. The number to call would be 855-341-1020. That's 855-341-1020. Or if you're on the nickandjoeshow.com page or you're listening to Facebook Live, you could click on the call us link that we've provided, and you'll be connected to us through our phones, but using your computer. So we're just all high tech here. And let's go to, we've got Bob on line 1. So we'll go to Bob.
So we're just all high tech.
Hey, Bob.
And, hi, how you doing? Let's go to...
pretty good, Bob, but you got to turn your computer volume down.
One.
Or you have to find a way to... Just to mute the player.
Hi, how you doing? Let's go to...
pretty good, Bob, but you got to turn your computer volume down.
Or you have to...
Okay, I can't hear Bob.
No, because Bob's computer volume is up.
Oh, is that why?
Let's go to...
Does Bob say where he's from?
Bob from Ottawa. Bob, I've muted you, and I'm hoping that you're listening to us on the computer. If you are, you have to... oh, okay. Well, I guess he hung up. Okay.
Oh.